Welcome back, everyone, to Mason Street Retirement Insights, or MSRI, if you will, the podcast that is hosted by Sean Mason, the retirement strategist and founder of Mason Street Wealth Management. Been serving Fresno for a long time, and used to have a different name, but I love this rebrand, Sean. You've got a nice coat of paint on the place, so to speak. Mason Street Wealth Management. Folks, you can get in touch with Sean Mason and his trusty team there, 559-892-0002, or go to masonstreetwealthmanagement.com. Maybe you've just heard about this and want to learn more about Sean and the team. There's an About button on the website. There's also a Contact Us button there right at the top, and you can get in touch, get on the calendar, make a phone call, Zoom call, or even in-person appointment there. And Sean, I know you'd love for people to come in and actually see the digs, right?
Oh, absolutely. Please come in. Love meeting with the community. Love hanging out with the community. Love talking shop. There's a lot to discuss. So give us a call and set up a time to either have a preliminary phone call or come in and sit down with me for a few minutes.
And hey, no promises, but Sean has a really good Hawaiian shirt game. All right, so no promises if he's wearing one when you come or not. But when we record these a lot, Sean's got a great button-up shirt on. All right, so make that appointment. If anything, to see what Hawaiian print Sean's got rolling there, 559-892-0002 or masonstreetwealthmanagement.com. At last episode, we talked about just simply having enough to retire, and one of the things that Sean brought up is that there are variables that change, whether it's inflation or whether it's in your own life, or we'll call a so-called black swan event. You know, one of those things that can really throw things sideways, all right? And we're going to get into actually planning for the unexpected in just a moment and relating that to a tough situation that's unfolding for someone you may know. But before we get into that, Sean, just to kind of start it on a lighter note here, you mentioned to me, you've talked so much about how you're this far away from the mountains, this far away from the beaches, and you're telling me it is, and I didn't know there was a season for this, but waterfall season?
Oh, we're so fortunate, Doug. And it's water. We're getting right into waterfall season, and there's a lot of it around us. I'll be real specific about Yosemite.
Please.
It's extraordinary. Kevin Costner just did a documentary a couple months ago on Yellowstone to Yosemite and focused on Yosemite. And we end up going to Yosemite maybe 4 or 5 times a year, and I'll tell you, I always forget, and Kevin said it perfect on his documentary. He said, I came out of that tunnel, and it was one of the most extraordinary things I've ever seen. Those of you who know Yosemite, you know what I mean by coming out of the tunnel, and it's an extraordinary feeling. You've got to get up there, but right now, all the way through June is incredible because the waterfalls are on full hit. You've got to take the Vernal Falls hike. They call it the Spray Trail.
Okay.
It's not that difficult, but it's really something special.
Now, what makes, because I think of waterfalls as just throwing water over the edge year round. Is that not the case here because of the snow melt that they get more intense, or is it just that it's better weather to be outside to see a waterfall?
That's it, Doug. It's the snow melt. And the weather's getting a little warmer, so that's nice. So when you get all wet up that spray trail, it helps a little bit. But the snow melt is coming down. It's the strongest through June and maybe the beginning of July, and then it starts to dwindle a little bit. It's still beautiful throughout the entire season, which would be summer into the early fall, but it's on big hit into June.
Man, that sounds great. Well, you're making me want to get out to Yosemite. I've been to Yellowstone for a few hours, basically, or like half a day, so now I need to cross the other Y off of my list there. So get in the office and talk to Sean about waterfall season. Maybe you're new to the Fresno area, all right? Sean's got some recs for you because that's his home, okay? If anything, get some good tips there and get talking about retirement too, all right? So we're going to discuss planning for the unexpected today. I love planning for trips and planning for the unexpected. And recently, Three Doors Down had to shutter their summer tour because lead singer Brad Arnold had a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, and he put a very meaningful and emotional Instagram post out, but he was not writhing with despair. So here's what Brad Arnold had to say about it.
We serve a mighty God who can overcome anything. So I have no fear. I really sincerely am not scared of it at all.
That's pretty cool. And I know that was just a short bit. That was a much longer piece. You can find Brad Arnold on Instagram there. 3 Doors Down. Their first big single was Kryptonite, something that could kind of take you down. And they've had some more inspirational ones too as well. It makes you think when he started 2025, because he just got this diagnosis, when we saw the ball drop in January, you don't think in May that you're going to be spending the whole summer doing chemo or radiation or whatever that treatment is, and the cost with that, both emotionally and of course out of your wallet too. How do you help people plan for the unexpected? Because whether it's medical or just a HVAC croaking out or whatever it is, there's so many things that can happen, especially in retirement when you don't have the normal paycheck coming in.
Yeah, it's really true. And wow, how about planning for the unexpected? That's a huge shocker, not just for Brad. He's a really strong guy and so inspirational, but how about for his family?
Yeah.
And his friends and coworkers and all the fans. It touches everybody. Planning for the unexpected is so important. I was just hanging out with some college buddies, and one of them had become a surgeon.
Oh.
And we were talking to him, and it was really cool. We're hanging out, having fun. And we start talking to him, and he's telling us, and I felt like I was the butt of a joke when he starts saying, Sean, I could teach you how to do an appendectomy in a day.
Oh, wow.
We'd get started in the morning, through the afternoon. By late afternoon, you could be doing appendectomies on your own. And my question to him, and my question to him was, well, why did you have to spend 5 years in residency then? And his answer really hit me. And that answer was because it's going to take 5 years for you to learn what to do if something goes wrong.
Oh, wow.
Right. And I said, wow, how true is that for retirement planning? We can come up with this extraordinary plan of what we think life is going to be like and how we think our lifestyle is going to be. And it just takes an event or two, a circumstance or two, for it to completely derail the entire plan. So planning for those unexpected situations is key.
And I think that's part of the reason why, in Brad's case, he talked about his faith helps him brace for the unseen. And that's why he said, hey, I believe in something bigger than me. I believe in God. I do not have fear. Because to him, no matter what the result is, he can only control what he can control. And we can't control what the circumstances are, but we can control how we react to them, right? So everybody in their life is going to have something financially major unexpected happen. I think it's almost 100%, right? And it's a matter of accounting for that. So how do you help people account for that?
It really is, and it's completely out of our control. Faith is so important, but being prepared even strengthens our faith. And we all know that. And so, you've heard me say it so many times, having a comprehensive plan changes the game. But it's not just having a plan. I was meeting with a couple that came in yesterday, actually, and they brought to me a plan that had been created from one of the custodians. I believe it was Vanguard. And it was okay. It wasn't as comprehensive as we'd like to see. But what I saw as the biggest issue with it is it didn't account for any of the what ifs that could come up.
Okay.
What if they raise taxes by 10 or 15%? How does that change your lifestyle? What if we have a market correction and now you're in a position to where you're having to take money out of that account? It's the same as paying a penalty. What if you have, and we just talked about this, what if you have an unforeseen medical situation arise? How are you going to handle that? We have got to be prepared for all of those what if scenarios that could happen. I'll tell you, what will not happen to my wife is for her to be 78 years old, me to have passed early, and her come upon a circumstance and there be no solution there. We have to understand all the solutions to the circumstances that could come up before they come up.
And what are some of is it something about, boosting your savings plan? Is it something about just having a whole separate account to draw from these from? Is it types of insurance to carry? What are some of the ways that physically people can account for this? Or is it just stowing away more money overall and having bigger withdrawals overall than people may be expected to have? Like, how do you actually physically account for it?
It's a really good question, Doug, and I'll tell you that it all starts with identifying that the circumstance could happen in the first place.
Okay.
We have discussions. When I ask a family that I'm working for, I say, how are we going to account for a long-term care situation? Usually they think that I'm asking them if they want long-term care insurance, and that is absolutely not the case. I'm a planner. I need to write in the plan what the solution is going to be. Sometimes it's some form of insurance, but look, sometimes it's the kids will take care of me. There's a lot of different strategies that can be utilized for each of these circumstances. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's not. But identifying that it's a possibility is the first step.
Identifying the problem, the first step to solving it there. And then when someone meets with someone like you, if a person meets with someone like you, you can then start showing them ways to, squirrel away a little money here, squirrel money there, or put it in this thing. You could come up with a specific situation for each person that helps them account for that after IDing it, right?
Yeah, that's right. And that's all dependent on how important it is for them to mitigate the consequences of whatever that situation might bring. Look, often we can't mitigate everything, but we identify it's there and we be intentional as to whether we want to implement some strategy. Sometimes we just need to shoulder the risk. As long as we understand the risk and the consequences of it, we might decide that we can shoulder that. Other times we need to implement some type of a strategy to mitigate what's coming as far as consequences. So it completely determines on what's important to them. And in discussion, we'll walk through multiple options on how to implement strategy.
I saw a number recently that the average couple, I think it is, and so don't nail me to the exact number, but the average couple has about roughly $300,000 of medical expenses over their retirement years. All right, just all premiums, everything added up, right? And I don't know if that jives with something you've seen or not, Sean, but it's a six-figure number, and that does not include long-term care costs, where the number is roughly 1 in 2 people at some time in their life are going to need some sort of long-term care, which is help doing 2 of the 5 main daily activities. All right, whether that's long-term care at the end of life in a nursing home, or whether it's 6 weeks in a rehab facility after getting a hip replaced and you need somebody to help take care of you, whatever it is. Those are pretty high odds that you're going to need something. And since everybody's situation is different, whether it's carrying a certain kind of insurance or having a certain kind of savings elsewhere, I think, Sean, it is vital that people get with you and get a plan going. So what's the first step in doing that?
It's really true. You got to give us a call. You got to give us a call so that we can have a discussion. And that discussion could be a preliminary phone call so that we can talk a little bit about what your concerns are. But ultimately, you want to come in and sit down and let's take a little time to discuss what your concerns are and what might be some recommendations.
Get those recs, whether it's recs about what to do in Fresno, or probably more importantly, how to plan for those black swan moments, those unexpected, big time, big cost moments. Call Sean and the team at Mason Street Wealth Management, 559-892-0002, 559-892-0002, or go to masonstreetwealthmanagement.com. Get in touch with Sean and the team. Set up that complimentary, comprehensive first appointment and let them help you by asking that first question. How do I plan for the unexpected? What could those problems be? And also, Sean, while they're going to masonstreetwealthmanagement.com, they need to hit the events page and sign up once again. Retirement 101 classes, June 17th and 19th, 6 to 8 p.m. at CSU Fresno. And I can just tell by the way you talk about it that you're passionate about doing those Retirement 101 classes.
Oh, I love it. And there's a lot of great information that comes out. People have questions. We all learn from everybody else in that class. So take the time. It's a couple hours. Take the time. Come in and visit. I
love that. Again, go to masonstreetwealthmanagement.com to learn more. Sean getting out in the community and getting that education out to people. Well, Sean, thank you so much for spending the time today and helping us learn at least the importance of IDing the problem. And of course, those could be many types of problems as far as planning for the unexpected. So crucial. We've determined it could happen to so many people. So thank you for spending your precious time and telling us about it.
Awesome. I appreciate the time, Doug. It's been a lot of fun. I love hanging out with the community.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure they feel the same way. We also appreciate the community, all of you listening in. And if you've heard something you think that other people need to hear, be sure and flip the link over to them. Mason Street Retirement Insights Podcast. It's out roughly every 2 weeks on Apple and Spotify. And you can find the full cadre of shows, if you will, on the media page at MasonStreetWealthManagement.com. If you've heard something good, make sure someone else in your world hears the same thing, because they may need to hear it as much as you have. We also thank our producer, Rob Scott, who's over here getting this published and put out the show. And again, we thank all of you for listening. Sean Mason is a retirement strategist and founder of Mason Street Wealth Management. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you very soon here on Mason Street Retirement Insights. Mason Street Wealth Management, MSWM, is a registered investment advisor, and the opinions expressed by MSWM on this show are their own and do not reflect the opinions of Motivate Investments. Registration is not an endorsement by securities regulators. Investment advisory services are offered through Motivate Investments, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. All statements and opinions expressed are based upon information considered reliable, although it should not be relied upon as such. Any statements or opinions are subject to change without notice. The information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for any individual. Listeners are encouraged to seek advice from a qualified tax, legal, or investment advisor to determine whether any information presented may be suitable for their specific situation. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities, offered through Sean A. Mason, California, insurance license number 0B54860. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Motivate Investments. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. MSWM is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if MSWM is licensed in your state, please call 559-892-0002.